What's happening, Internet? My name is Cory Wong. I am the new face of smooth jazz. With me is the former face of smooth jazz, David Koz. You may know him as Dave Koz.
That's my stage name, Dave Koz.
Dave Koz.
Slightly different than David Koz.
Now, is it David Stephen or is it David Steven?
David Steven, but with a PH.
Dave, how does it feel to be dethroned?
Well, I didn't know I was dethroned until just now, so I'm a little shocked, actually. But that's okay, because you know what? The world of instrumental music needs new faces, it needs new ideas, it needs new creativity, and that's what you have done. So I applaud you, King. New King. And
King feels there's too many different connotations.
Czar is better?
Czar, I wasn't even thinking about that, but I was thinking more emperor or sultan.
Sultan. That's one of the words you love, sultan. You called me the Sultan of Smooth, the Stamos of...
Sax, sommelier of sound waves.
These are all things that you've said about me in the past. I'm wondering if you're still saying them about me now.
I would say you continue to reign supreme as sommelier of sound waves. But I have a question about this, because you are the Sultan of Smooth. What is smooth jazz, and who is smooth jazz?
Well, evidently, it's now you. And
that's the question. I just think it's funny to call myself smooth jazz because everybody thinks smooth jazz sucks.
Well, see, this is semantics. For example, let me just take it back to the beginning. Smooth jazz is not a style of music. It's a radio format. It was created, the moniker smooth jazz was created to describe a format of radio, not a genre of music. And that's where it got a little bit weird, because it was a marketing thing in the beginning, but yet music was made under that banner, so it became known as smooth jazz music. But smooth jazz really doesn't refer to music in really a specific way. I'd always talk about instrumental music, because I think that umbrella as a banner better accurately describes the things that we're doing, because under the banner of instrumental music you can have everything. You can have pop instrumental, you can have rock instrumental, you got smooth jazz, you've got traditional jazz, the jam band music, instrumental music that you guys make a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I think that's more inclusive, because smooth jazz doesn't really, sadly, doesn't really describe anything other than a radio format.
Honestly, that makes a lot more sense to me, because a lot of the albums that would be called smooth jazz, I like a lot of the original first gen, and then maybe the radio format came along, and then the genre kind of emerged to match the radio format. And that's, to me, where a lot of the stuff kind of I haven't connected with as much.
Well, it's like the tail wagging the dog. Because this format became very popular in every major city in the United States, mostly in the United States, a few places outside.
Mostly a dentist's office and elevators.
Right. Thank you very much for that. But hey, you still wanted to work with me.
Now,
why do I need to defend myself?
Don't defend yourself, because you're the Sultan of the thing. Okay. The difference between when I have seen smooth jazz played live and smooth jazz heard on the radio, it's a different experience. And for me, when I first saw you play live and first heard your albums, they did a different thing for me. Now, I'm a music nut. I'm a music fan. I know good musicians. I know good music when I hear it. So I like the albums, but the live show, to me, just had a different visceral response. I had a different energy. It just grabbed me in a different way. And that's actually what excited me the most about what you do, is your live show and the live energy that you bring. And when we had first talked about making this album, I thought, okay, I'm down, but one stipulation. I want it to feel like your live show. I want that Dave Koz to be represented.
Well, let me just ask you this, and going back a little bit further. Why? Because you reached out to me in the beginning. This was a few years ago.
Yeah.
When you kind of deputized your fans at your shows to start on social media attacking me, saying, I started hearing from all these kids, right? about this guy, this guitar player named Cory Wong. I'm like, why are you bothering me about someone I have never heard of? I have no idea. I had no idea who you were. And all of a sudden, a barrage of these social media messages. And so I did my research, and I was like, well, who is this guy? And then I found out what you do, and I was like, this guy has a unique, original, and new voice in instrumental music. And I was very curious. But you took a chance on me, and I'm curious to know what was it, because that was before you had seen my live shows. You may have seen them on YouTube.
I've seen them on YouTube, yeah.
But that's a different thing, a different visceral experience than being in an audience to hear music live. But there was something about what you saw, because you could have your choice of anybody in this format would be interested, maybe not everybody, but anybody who's interested in spreading their wings a little bit and pushing the envelope of your own personal creativity. That was the attraction for me. And you were the first person to open up that new channel for me. It was like, maybe, because I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
If I was left to my own devices and made the same recording project every time, obviously different songs and stuff, but basically living in the same sonic landscape.
Sure.
You were this opportunity, this sort of bright new light for me to go, wow, maybe there's something different to explore here.
Yeah.
But why me? This is the question I have. I've been wanting to ask this of you for a very long time. Why me?
Candy Dolfer turned me down.
Okay,
Kenny G turned me down. Gerald Albright said, I'm busy. Koz was fourth in line.
And Koz said...
I'm just kidding. No, you
Koz
were the
said
first.
yes.
Okay, so realistically, for those of you that don't know the history of this, basically my friends and I were on tour. I get in these YouTube rabbit holes just like the best of all people these days, right? Now, you said it's a different experience actually seeing it live versus watching it on YouTube. But for me, I grew up watching YouTube videos. I'm used to... I can get that. Of course, it's different than being there live, but it holds a certain thing.
Yeah.
Like, I can get the energy, right? So I was looking up videos of saxophone and drum duets, and I found a video of Dave doing his elevator hit Together Again.
Elevators have been very good to me, by the way. Go on. Sorry.
There's millions of them around the world.
It's incredible. If you only got airplay in elevators, you're set.
See, I don't
And
think
then when
I'm
you throw the dentist chair on top of the elevator, forget about it. That's the beach house.
I will say, when I was getting...
I'm kidding.
No. Yours is across the street from the beach. It's not the actual beach house. Kenny's is on the beach. I will say, when I was getting fitted for my Invisalign, Koz was on the speakers.
And it made you feel good, right? It
did.
It calmed you down.
It did. I felt good.
Yeah.
But this isn't the Koz that I wanted represented on this album. Now, that I wanted represented, that I knew existed, that you said, yeah, I'm ready to bring this Koz out. Now, the story is, we were hanging out, Koz's elevator hit Together Again. There's this spot in the live show where it's a sax and drum duet. And my friends and I were freaking out, like, this is awesome. Koz is amazing. And one of the friends from the side of the room goes, Koz? Isn't he smooth jazz? I said, whoa. Because I had beef with people saying smooth jazz sucks, because when I was in college for guitar, one of my teachers told me Benson was a no-go because he's smooth jazz. And then finally, like so I just kind of wrote off Benson, because as an impressionable teenager, one of my guitar teachers told me Benson was a no-go.
And he was wrong.
He was absolutely wrong. And I'm still making up for those sins today for the years I wasn't listening to Benson. Anyway, so I had beef with my buddy Alex, who's over in the corner saying, Koz.
I never liked him anyway.
You actually have met him. I'm not going to tell you. Well, I just said his name.
I'll get the voodoo doll.
Yeah, it's
later.
fine. Yeah. Now, I say, okay, we're going down the Koz rabbit hole because we're here. I find out this guy's got his own cruise. This guy, it sells out years in advance. It looks like a lot of fun. He's got Larry Graham. He's got Tower of Power. Like, insane bands, incredible artists on this thing. I was thinking, I got to get on this cruise. Because I'm from Minneapolis. I will do almost anything to get out of the Minneapolis cold in the winter. So I find Koz's cruise. I go on tour. I start telling my fans, look, I'm not smooth jazz, but what we need to do is try to convince this Dave Koz guy. And look, everybody there knew who Dave Koz was because you're like Bob Saget. You're just like in the zeitgeist. Like everybody knows who you are. It's like, Saget, he's an actor or is he a comedian? It's like, yeah, he's all those. He's just like around. You know, everybody knows who he is. You know?
He's one of my great friends.
I know, he's got...
We stick together. People like that, we stick together.
They got a cigar club together.
You know, I say...
They got a cigar club together.
Are you in the zeitgeist? Okay, great. We can be friends. I'm kidding.
I wasn't invited to the cigar club.
We can get you in. Anyway,
I'm not a cigar guy. Anyways, so...
Continue your story.
So I say, we're going to play 32 bars of smooth jazz. What I want you to do is post this video on the internet and tag Dave Koz saying we're the hottest new smooth jazz group on the planet, and he's going to have to hire us for his cruise. Sure enough, after about a month of berating him on the internet, like he says, he comes back to me and says, look, I've got some mutual friends that say you're legit. I looked you up. You got some cool stuff happening. Why don't you come meet me at my rehearsal, a.k.a. meet me on my turf, and we'll see if we can make something happen. So I go to his rehearsal for the Summer Horns tour or something. You know, he's got Gerald Albright security, and he's got Aubrey Logan. Making sure that I'm, not some weirdo. Turns out Aubrey and I are friends, have mutual friends, blah, 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 this and that. Koz says, all right, let's do this thing. And it started this friendship, and eventually we became more friends. We more and more started to respect each other's musicianship and just genuinely had a good time playing music together. Dave says to me, I'm working on maybe writing some new music. You want to write some music together? He came to Minneapolis. We wrote 15 songs or something in the course of a week. And he had one food request in Minneapolis in the month of February.
In the dead of winter.
You care to tell them what it is?
Well, I like McDonald's ice cream cones a lot. And there was a McDonald's that was like basically at the corner of the street of the studio. And so that was my shtick was every day at the writing sessions, I would say, I know that it's minus 40, but I need my ice cream cone. And you were very kind to do the drive-through to allow me to get my cone. I think it's one of the reasons why we wrote great songs. You can never underestimate the power of a nice McDonald's ice cream cone. Anyway, let me backtrack a little bit.
Go ahead.
One of the things that was so great about interfacing with you, and my version of the story is slightly different. Basically, these people, his fans, who are 20-somethings, would be tagging me in these posts, and I'd be like, who is Cory Wong? And then when I did my research on you, and I went the deep dive on YouTube, I was like, this guy is really creating music that is like the next generation of what contemporary jazz is. A kind of mix of jam band, funk band, jazz, smooth jazz, and it's all put into this amalgam that for whatever reason is attracting the attention of young people. Now, this is, as a person who's been around for a while and a musician who's making records for 30 years, this is what we need. We need more young people. And as an instrumentalist, I'm sure that you agree with this.
Yeah.
We're instrumentalists living in a vocal world. The world operates with vocal music. But I've always said that there's a place in everybody's record collection or Spotify favorites for instrumental music, because there's those moments when you don't want to hear words. You don't want to hear somebody sing.
Yeah.
You just want to hear somebody play an instrument. So I was very excited that you were excited to meet me. And then tapping into the whole Minnesota vibe, because Minnesota is one of those places that the average person doesn't think that Minnesota is a music town, but Minneapolis is a massive music town.
Yeah.
And getting a chance to tap into another slice of the Minneapolis sound with you and your musicians that I didn't know was so exciting for me musically. It's like getting into, if you've driven a Tesla for a while, and
which Dave owns a Tesla,
and then you get into the car. It was like the time that I played with the Foo Fighters too. That was getting into a Maserati with an extra gear, like a 6 gear.
That would be fun.
But you guys were like a different, like a whole, it was like a Lamborghini or something like that. Completely different energy. And tapping into that energy and seeing what it did to me musically. And also, not just the musicians, but the way that you record. So this was like, for me, something completely new, which was going for that more in the moment, like you're with your musicians and your instrument and capturing a moment in time.
Yeah.
That can't ever be replicated. So it's in the studio, which is the way that we made this record. In the studio, every musician there, and you're recording the tracks, but at the same time, you're doing videos for the tracks. So you're thinking about, if you're thinking at all, you're thinking, I don't want to be the reason why we have to do this again. That's all that was going through my head.
Yeah.
For 3 days. Was I don't want to be the person that screws this up. So it makes you find that other thing inside of you that it is always there, but because oftentimes we're in a studio where it's just you doing overdubs. You can have 100 different tracks of saxophone overdubs. You can tinker. It's like a laboratory.
Yeah.
But by doing that, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, but by doing that, you're sort of taking that natural, completely organic energy that comes out of you, which you're not getting the brain thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's just like it comes from here. It comes from a different, more, to me, a much more authentic place.
Sure.
And that's what this experience was with you and the guys all being in the studio at the same time. It was captured like lightning in a bottle and going and capturing it. And then when you listen to the tracks, again, it's that immediacy. It just, from the minute a track starts, you're like, whoa, all that energy. Because it was 10 people in the studio all playing with that same intention. We're going to kill this for the next 3.5 minutes.
Yeah. And that's fun. For me, I love that process because I don't like going in over-rehearsed. I didn't want it to feel overproduced at all. I felt like, not that I think most of your albums are overproduced, but your other albums have a lot of production elements to it. This, I wanted, as the producer of this project, part of what I wanted, the vision that I thought would be fun is to strip back a lot of that and put in more of the work on the front end. Okay, we're gonna spend a lot of time honing in these arrangements, a lot of time figuring out exactly what everybody's needs to do, but leave space for interpretation in the moment. So when we show up at the session, it's make sure that you've prepared, show up gig ready, basically, to the session. We did a couple days of rehearsal, and we actually did kind of a dry run by doing a couple outdoor socially distanced concerts or whatever.
In COVID, by the way.
Yeah, and it was fun to play. And we got a chance to feel the energy arcs of the songs, see who's gonna slip in little extra things where. And then in the studio it was, all right, we are literally going to record this album down in 2 days. In front of a camera, all live together in the room. If Dave messes up, we're gonna stop, and we're all gonna know it was Dave that messed up and that he is the reason why we stopped. And if Cory messes up...
How many times did it happen where I messed up?
I lost count.
Shut up.
That was too easy. No.
Yeah. I don't think that there were any that stopped just because of me. You know, it was amazing, though, to me, the concept of having that horn section. I don't remember exactly how we landed on the idea of having a horn section. 5-person horn section. Each of those guys, incredible in their own right, but taken as a whole, with Michael Nelson writing these arrangements. Michael Nelson is the horn arranger for everyone from Prince to, I mean, he's basically the guy.
Yeah.
You know, one of the greatest horn arrangers of all time. So he took these songs that we wrote in the little studio and took them to another whole level with having those guys play it on.
Yeah.
And then being in the studio, it kind of reminds me a little bit sometimes when I've done orchestral dates, either in the studio or live shows with the orchestra. There's something about when you have that much humanity that's playing at the same time you are, when you can collect all of that humanity. It's a hard thing to put into words.
Sure.
But you have all these souls that are giving of themselves with one intention, which is to create this musical experience. And being the front person, if you will, for those sessions, it was like having this incredible gust of wind to just take you away.
Yeah.
So it was almost like sailing on top of this wonderfully fat foundation that you provided that was so great. And the rhythm section alone, your guys, I mean, Pitar on drums, this is one of the greatest drummers of all time. And Kevin on keyboards, and I loved Johannes on bass, and you're, with the guitar stuff that you added. I mean, it was just every little thread added to this beautiful tapestry. And when I listen to it now, I'm so proud of it. And it's so different from everything that I've ever done before.
Yeah.
And I think that your fans will love this record because it's you. It's got your thumbprint on it so completely. But I also think that there's a lot of me, obviously, that was put into it. But it's really coming up with it's my circle and your circle and that sub-circle that overlaps.
Yeah.
And we're in the overlap. And
Totally.
I believe that your fans and my fans will find great joy in this music because that's what it really all is about.
Yeah.
Was bottling the joy. Now, I think we should remember to say that we recorded this in September of 2020.
It's true.
So we recorded it at a time when the world was in lockdown, and we had a bunch of hoops to jump through every day, with the masking and the testing and all the stuff that's related to actually doing things in COVID.
Yeah.
But once it was go time, the red light went on. It was pure joy. And I think that's one of the things that was also really so special about this project was because all the musicians had not had an experience like this in a very long time.
I know.
I know for me, that's one of the things that I really relied on was the complete joy of music making again. It was like, I remember why I love this so much.
Yeah.
It was the communication and the camaraderie and the brotherhood of being with musicians, it turned out to be a whole week with the gigs and the rehearsals and everything. Yeah. There was a bonding that really took place, and I can't wait. I really hope that we're able to do some live shows with this instrumentation, with these guys.
It'd be scary. That's a fun band to play live.
Yeah.
It's a fun project. And for me, it was really cool because, I'll be transparent with everybody. At first, this project, the intention was a Dave Koz album, and Dave was hiring me to be the producer for the album. And at some point, you switched and said, tell me, you kind of said, what if we tweak the vision a little bit?
I think as a project, I think it's more significant if it's a collaboration.
Sure.
I'm a born collaborator. That's what I love to do.
Yeah.
And I love making my own records. I love doing my own tours, but I love working with other artists.
Yeah.
To have you go from the guitar player and producer sort of in the background, but you were not in the background anyway because you're not a background person. I hate to break it to you. I don't think you've ever met a background that you like.
As I said, I am now the new face for smooth jazz. So
yes.
The baton has been passed.
There was no baton. But if
the crown has been...
There was no crown either. But anyway,
the sword
I digress. There might be a sword. The main thing is that I recognized that to really tap into the Cory Wong thing is to let you be completely Cory Wong. Why should
Sure.
it be? It shouldn't be. Woo. I wanted the full thing. I wanted the full Cory Wong, front
Yeah.
and center, with me, doing this as a duet project, a collaborative project. And I think that it really works great that way. And I think
Yeah.
that this way it allows us to truly use this album as a way to build bridges. One of the things that COVID and this last year has really taught us is the healing power. Not that we need to be hearing that again, and I don't want to get on my soapbox, but the healing power of music.
Sure.
The power of music to bring people together.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have a kumbaya moment, but I really do feel that way now more than ever after having done this for so many years. And by the way, thank you for, I should say publicly, thank you for taking a chance on me and recognizing that I could do this, because honestly, there were times when I had a lot of doubt that I could pull something like this off.
Yeah.
Do I have that in me? Am I too set in my own ways? But I think as a human being, I'm always looking for the to take that risk. People may look at my career and say, "Oh, he's risk averse. He's kind of stayed in his lane." But the truth is, now more than ever, now that I've been doing this for so long, the idea of doing something that is the same thing just has very little appeal to me. I want to be pushed and pulled into new directions. I want to be inspired. I want to be kicked in the ass. I want to feel like get to the studio and not know if I can actually do it. On the other hand, I feel like there's enough experience because I've done it for so long that I can always rely on that experience to get me through anything. It's like the same thing as the way I look at my skiing. I mean, I'm a terrible skier, but I can get down any mountain. So it's not going to be pretty, but I can pretty much get down any mountain. And so, musically speaking, if you come to it with the right heart and the right people around you, you can get down any mountain.
Yeah. That's beautiful, Dave.
Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, I honestly, I part of my job in the producer role was let's capture Koz in an element that hasn't been captured on an album before. And for me, that was, look, Dave, I'm going to set up this safety net of a band that I absolutely 100% know and trust. I've played with the guys in the rhythm section for over a decade. These are some of my close friends that I've played with for a long time. The horn section, Michael is basically at this point one of my right-hand guys for all of my projects that I do, and such a huge part of my sound now as well. So, all right, Dave, you show up, you know your parts, just show up and crush it. I know you feel a little uneasy about it, but just trust yourself and trust the rest of us. And I was really, really impressed with the way that you showed up, and even just from the start, your idea of wanting to show a different side of your identity musically, a different side of your musical identity, but also just take a different type of risk. Because for me, I have seen you take different risks and, I don't know, just like explore different things career-wise, life-wise, music-wise, some of them working better than others, but like all of us.
We'll get into that later.
But the vulnerability thing, like you're not afraid to be vulnerable.
Well, I was, and I think that's part of the idea of experience of life, where you get to a certain point where, like, for example, incorporating the more personal aspects of my life into my more public life, my musical life, has always been a win for me. So, like in 2004, I never thought that this would actually happen, but in 2004, I came out as gay. And I was really nervous about that because, not that people didn't know in my personal life, but my fans didn't know. And I thought, well, this could end things. I mean, it was back in the time when that really didn't happen.
Sure.
And not only did it not end things, everything got better. I mean, it was the most amazing experience to look at, authenticity and what showing up as authentic in your life, what it can do for you. And then several years later, so I came out as gay in 2004, and then I came out as gray in 2017. I'm not going to tell you which one was more difficult.
This guy with the one-liners. I mean, he's from Berg. This is 818. This is some straight up Hollywood. That's the one line.
Okay, I grew up in the Valley, okay? There's another one of authenticity. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley.
So it's not an act. It's just like, it's natural. This isn't an act. Dave's just got this built in. The one-liners just...
No, but I think it was both of those experiences. And I've done, in the last year, my brother and sister and I started a cannabis edibles company. So I had my third coming out as
a weed head.
As basically a stoner. But what comes from cannabis, the healing aspects of cannabis are very inspiring. So that's where that brand, it's called Dr. Norm's. But anyway,
there's a song that you have called Dr. Norm's. The business side of me, the marketing side of me, in my brain right now cannot even begin to comprehend the reason why you wouldn't call this cannabis company Koz Kush. I mean, it's right there in front of you. Dr. Norm's?
Well, Dr. Norm was my dad.
That's your dad?
Yeah, Dr. Norm was my dad.
Oh, okay.
Of course, he was a dermatologist and never smoked weed, but...
Is that why your skin looks so good? Being 65?
He's been gone. He's been gone for a long time. So this is due to me.
Okay.
And the clean living, except for that weed part. So when you show up as a producer, is that like wearing different hats?
Yeah.
Because when we were in the studio, this was not necessarily going to be your record.
Sure.
Tell me how the experience for you is different when you're producing the projects, and you produce your own albums too. So
yeah,
it's sometimes for me, not sometimes, all the time for me, I lose perspective if I am being a producer of my own music. I can do it for others because I can step away for a minute, but with my own music, it's very hard for me to step away and be objective.
Yeah.
Because if left to my own devices, I would tinker, and oftentimes take the life out of music. So how did you do it on this project?
Well, the two things there are, how do you actually keep perspective if you're standing too close to the painting, if you're not able to stay objective about it? And then how is my role different if I'm stepping in to produce somebody else's project? I think in both of those cases, for me, so I guess the easier answer is, the easier one to answer is, if I'm coming in to produce somebody else's album, I'm thinking about big picture vision. What does the artist bring to the table that is, what's their most magnetic thing? What is it that draws people to this artist? And how can we emphasize that? What is it that they want to say with their music in general? And what are they trying to accomplish with this album? Are they trying to just continue the through line of their career thus far? Or are they trying to do something different and new? Like in this case with you. Are they trying to showcase a different side of themselves? How do they see themselves being able to do that? And how can I help guide that or even draw something else out of them? And for me, it's in the writing, it's in the engineering and the sound of the album, coming up with a vision for that. But then also, I think another part of being a good producer is being a good casting director. So finding the right bass player and drummer to lock in. And especially for me on guitar, I'm pretty particular about time and how that feels. Finding the right keyboard player who's going to understand when to float from being part of the rhythm section to being part of the horn section, or to just be the thing that glues it all together. In this case, all right, we're going to have the vision of the big horn section. I know what I'm getting. I know what we can bring to the table. I know that in the Dave Koz world, you're able to bring those things if you go out with the summer horns. These songs will work for that group. They'll work perfectly for that, and it'll be able to represent the album well. It'll be able to showcase all those horn players in a way. So knowing your career, knowing the types of tours you do, the types of bands that you bring out, making sure that this material isn't going to be so far off from that, but showcase you in a different way. As far as how to maintain perspective, for me, one of the big things has been, with the casting director side of it, have people on the team that aren't just yes people for everything. People they'll be able to call something out if it's something feels weird there, rather than like, oh, everything feels and sounds so amazing. That's cool. It's nice to have some hype. You got to hype each other when you need it. You got to hype each other when it's appropriate. But I think also you have to have people around that are going to speak up when something doesn't feel right. Or, I can't let this go without saying,
right,
I don't think that note works well with what we're doing over here. Do you want us to change, or should you change?
Yeah.
And to be able to get rid of your own ego, my own ego enough, your ego, or anybody around to be able to say, you know what you guys are doing, actually, I'll change what I'm playing to fit this better. Or to find somebody who's saying, I think the time feels better here, or what if we try this instead? I think having people around that understand and can hop onto your vision as a producer or artist, understand your language, understand your references, but also speak up when it's time. And it's not even just the players, it's the engineers, the mixing engineers, all of that. Everybody in that process to really trust and feel like they're trusted in their instincts as well, I think is a really important thing.
I think, and it's a beautiful description of what you just said, and I think for me as an artist, it was tapping into like a well-oiled machine. Like when just walking into the studio itself in Minnesota, trudging through the snow to get to the studio. I mean, it's just like every aspect about it worked as part of the narrative.
Sure.
And walking through that hallway and saying hello to the studio manager, Steve, and then the engineer did such a great job. And the musicians and the attitude of everybody. And then when we went for lunch, it's like all these little things add to, you don't think that they add to the mix. But who I learned that from was probably one of the greatest producers of all time, Phil Ramone. And when you talk about casting, he was the ultimate casting director.
I love the Ramones.
Not the Ramones. This is a different Ramone.
Could the Ramones pull off a smooth jazz album? Yes or no?
I think anybody can pull up. What is smooth jazz? Sure, absolutely.
That's the question I asked at the beginning. Sorry, we've derailed. Continue with Phil Ramone.
But Phil Ramone's brilliance was not just in casting the right musicians, but his brilliance was knowing when to get the take. So you'd walk into the studio, and you would be sitting there, and there would be schmoozing and talking. You're like, as a musician, you're saying, let's see, I wonder when he's going to say, let's go make a take. And he wouldn't do it until it was exactly the right time, and then he would say, okay, guys, let's go in the studio and make
until the vibe is right. The camaraderie.
And Quincy Jones is the master of that as well. I mean, these guys, these legendary producers, they knew what was going on. Because you hire the best musicians, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't even have to worry about the music. The music sort of takes care of itself. It's about capturing the lightning in a bottle and knowing when that lightning is going to strike. You had that too. You had natural instincts in that department.
Yeah, I definitely felt like there was times where we needed to slow down and just hang and talk, jab at each other a little bit. Have the right amount of break time.
It was really, as from a musician and artist perspective, I think it was one of the most fun and most thorough experiences, the most full and gratifying experiences musically I've had in a very long time, because you see something happen right before your eyes. It's like all of a sudden there's a blank canvas, right? And then 3 minutes later, it's done. It's not just the first coat.
Yeah.
It's all finished in 3.5 minutes later. That part of it, the immediacy and the excellence and the ability of all these musicians to, in that exact moment, pull their very best. And I wasn't the only soloist. the Kenny, amazing tenor saxophone player, and Sam on baritone saxophone. People would take solos and it'd be like every single one of them would be monstrous. So I really delight in seeing that excellence come out in musicians. Now let me ask you this. Why do you want to have when you say like pass the mantle of smooth jazz, what is it inside of you that feels the necessity to have this prowess in this genre? I mean, why? I think a lot of the reason why your bit works, first of all, you're an amazing musician.
I like that you refer to it as my bit, because it is a bit.
You're an amazing musician. If you were not an amazing musician, none of this would work.
Of course.
Okay, so
I appreciate that.
The foundation is that you come to your music having complete chops, command of your instrument, and also a completely unique voice on the instrument.
Sure.
Okay. So then, why do you need everything else? Part of the thing that I think it is it's sort of like on the edge of, is this all serious? Or is he taking this seriously? Or is this kind of like, is he having a joke at my expense? And I still, how many years have we known each other? I'm still not sure what it is. I think you might still be taking the piss.
See, that's the thing that I need to, I need to make sure that you don't know whether I'm actually making fun of you the whole time or not. But you do it right back, which is fun. That's to me, okay, in all seriousness, I think, so you're a very self-aware person, and I have this comedic relationship in my mind with smooth jazz, as much to most people around my age. For many of us, while we were young and exposing ourselves to other styles of music, smooth jazz exposed itself to us against our own will.
This is all sounding very naughty. You talk about exposing yourself and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every time I sat down at the dentist to get a little cavity fixed, I had Koz playing up in the background.
It's not such a horrible thing.
It was wonderful.
Makes that experience a little less terrorizing.
I'm okay. I didn't have a lot of cavities, but what I'm saying is, I think the idea of smooth jazz is just a really funny thing to me, because people seem to hate it so bad, and nobody wants the title of Sultan of Smooth. So for me to be able to tell you that you're the Sultan of Smooth, you yourself hate the term smooth jazz. When I first met Dave, he kept telling me, "Quit, knock it off with the smooth jazz."
No,
it's
word
not
smooth. It's not smooth jazz. And I also want to make this distinction, is that the fans, my fans who have been incredibly loyal to me for a very, very long time.
You have amazing fans. I've been on your cruise. The fans are amazing.
Those people have no problem with the term smooth.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I think you guys need to lighten up.
It's not so. And I'm fine with it. Fine with smooth again. It
took 2 years for you to get there.
You actually helped me enjoy the word smooth again. So
now,
thank you. Thank you very much.
For me to be able to say, for me to try to say that I'm taking the throne for smooth jazz is just funny to me, because it's like, you want this used coffee cup? Sure.
No, how about the fact that this kid just was nominated for a Grammy in the New Age category? You want to talk about it?
That's also funny, because I'm not New Age. So I think,
why can't you be the Sultan of New Age? Doesn't have a ring, does it? Not the same as the Sultan of smooth jazz.
You know, I was gonna go for it, but
Stamos of smooth.
I lost.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
I lost. I did not win.
Welcome
the
to the
Grammy.
club, my
Otherwise,
friend.
I would have played into the bit of being the new face of New Age.
That would have been a scary thing.
It's probably a good thing I didn't. But speaking of
there's
losing,
nothing New
speaking of
Age-
losing Grammys,
Oh, jeez. Why does he have to do this?
well, you brought it up. Dave has lost 9 times. Is how he sometimes likes to say it. But truly, Dave has been nominated 9 times. That is an incredible feat.
And lost 9 times. Nominated and lost.
That's a bummer. I'm sorry. So Dave actually was the first one to call and to congratulate me about it because he was watching, and also the first to say, look, I don't know where your head is at, but just know you're absolutely a wonderful musician, and you know, I know maybe many of the emotions that you're feeling when you don't win the award, but come on, you made it to the thing, and like you got there, and you should be proud of yourself. And he was the Uncle Dave that we needed in the moment with the wisdom.
The truth is, if you look at some of these people that have never won Grammys, you'd be completely blown away.
Yeah.
And I was putting together a Grammy show for one of the radio things that I do. And there was an artist I thought, I'm going to play him because, of course it was Joe Sample. The great pianist Joe Sample. Joe was nominated for a bunch of Grammys, but never won. He never won a Grammy. And he's been passed for a number of years. So I figured if Joe Sample didn't win a Grammy, then, that's all right. The long lineage of people, amazing talents that were nominated or not nominated, never won. It's you're part of a very prestigious club now. But I do believe that we will prevail one year, God willing. Maybe even with this one. But it doesn't really matter because the big win is making music that you love and
Absolutely.
releasing that. And the fact that you, as a guitar player, and me as a saxophone player, have fans and people that are interested in hearing what our musical thoughts are and trust our musical thoughts. I think that's really an amazing thing, and that I've taken for granted at other points in my life and try very hard not to take for granted now. The fact that how gloriously fortunate we are to be musicians. And especially after everything that we've been through this last year plus, to see how music has helped people in a way that other things just haven't helped. I mean, I suppose Netflix did quite a lot for people this last year. But music, I think, did a tremendous amount of keeping people calm, keeping people sane, keeping people centered, giving people an oasis away from their family and kids and, the at-home schooling and whatever it is that all these people were forced to face in COVID, that relationship that a music lover has with their favorite musicians. That's a sacred relationship. It's so sacred and so special and so meaningful that even if it's just one person who goes to your music when they need that sense of calm, then you've won. That's better than any Grammy. Although the Grammy would be good.
This guy coming out here with the wisdom. Look, music transcends titles. Smooth jazz.